Good morning, everyone. He had to go in order for them to grow. He had to go in order for them to grow. That's the ascension that we celebrate today. We'll unfold that in just a moment. Let's review last week. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. So we said that God's will, and we're talking about His perfect will there, is God's will is always reasonable, but very often it is countercultural. The reality is that He gives peace not as the world gives it. The world says you can find peace with money. Okay? Money will bring peace to your heart. If you just have another $1,000 or just another $5,000, that'll take care of this and this, and now we can have peace. Just another $10,000. Okay? Just another $100,000, and then it'll be enough. Maybe you get that 100,000. Is it enough? Nope. Now, maybe we'll have another 100,000. That'll do it. So it's going to be a shadow that we're chasing after. So we chase after it, and we just never embrace it. Popularity. You know, if I just am accepted by this group at work or in my family or just in my friends group, if we would just be able to get along, then everything, I'd have peace there. Or, if I just get this position at work, I'll experience, that prestige that I'm looking for. So the reality is that these things, which can be good if they're ordered, the problem is that they don't bring us peace. What brings us peace is discerning the will of God and saying yes to it. Now, the example I gave, and really I gave an example, a personal example, so that you yourself would think about a personal example. And it would be reaffirmed in our hearts. Because the reality is, we're all engaged in life. We're trying to go down the path of greatness that God has for us. And there will be these natural temptations towards power, prestige, pleasures, popularity. And so we have to continually reform our mind and our hearts in the image in which we have been created. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is God calling me to, and say yes to it. The example I gave was entering the military. So I had thought about it. I was accepted to colleges. I looked at the possible debt. I looked at the opportunities were there. I prayed about it, I thought about it, and I went off to the MEP station. I came back, and I told my mom I joined. And she said, "You did what?" She was not happy. Now, my dear, dear mother watches the homilies on YouTube, thanks to Liam. And she watched it last week, and she said, "Well, I was angry, but you blindsided me." And I said, "Now, Mother, I told you when I went that I could join, or maybe I might not." And she said, "No, that was not the case. You blindsided me. So I am here to say to all of you and to Mom that you were right, Mom." Okay, so very good. The reality is that I did join, and how could I have known that 2 years later, I would be in Pearl Harbor at the naval station, going much deeper in my faith than I had ever done in my life. Join the Navy, grow in your faith. Probably not exactly the line that the Navy comes forward with, but that's what happened. Why? Because whatever reason, He placed it here in my mind and here in my heart. And I felt impelled from within. I looked for the confirmations. They were there, and I stepped out in confidence. When have you done that? I mean, when I went to the MEP station and I saw my mother and my sister drive off, I could see the tears, from the side of their face. I was feeling pretty empty at that point, and yet deep down, I knew this is what I was called to do. So even in the sense of emotional emptiness, you can still feel the firmness of that solid ground beneath your feet. That is the peace of God that Jesus gives. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Now, he had to go in order for them to grow. So Jesus ascends into heaven. So theologically, he's showing us where we're going. And where the head goes first, then the body follows. And there's something there that should fill us with hope. It's also a template for our experience in humanity. That's the case in our faith. Should never be like, oh, that's faith. It's kind of like an axiom or something that's distant from us, something that's archaic. This is our Creator who has come into the world and revealed to us who we are and who God is. And so when the truth is unfolded, it's something that's intrinsic to our very humanity. That means it makes sense. So we see he ascends into heaven. He spent 3 years with these 11 apostles. He shared with them. He's got this great connection and friendship. He's taught them so much. But can't you imagine that if he would have stayed, they constantly would have ran to him. Well, what do we do about this? And what do we do about this? He had to go in order for them to walk on their own. Again, this template, we can see it as simple as training wheels. Remember when you were riding a bike and Mom said, well, I think it's time to take off the training wheels. Like, oh, no, not yet. It's like, you can do it. Or Dad took them off, held on to you. Don't let go. Don't let go. You'll be fine. Come on. Don't let go. And then let go. And off they go. Boom. All right, we'll get up. And then, we continue on, and eventually we ride on our own. When we get to 8th grade, it's time to move on to the next chapter. We finish high school, it's time to go to the next chapter. Maybe it's the military, maybe it's trade school, maybe it's college. And you move on. Maybe you finish your training and now it's time to enter the job force. Or maybe it's just a mentor in your life who walked with you spiritually, professionally, the kind of person that we lean on. And now it's time to stand on our own. That's hard to see them go. We want those mentors with us. But the reality is we can't really give what's placed in our heart to give unless we step out on our own. Again, I think of Father Tom, that priest that was in the Navy, and he helped me a lot when I started going back to college. So I'm working full time. I'm taking a couple of classes. Little apprehensive about writing at this point for me. Taking a composition class. Father Tom got a perfect score in his SATs in the verbals. So, and obviously he's a good homilist and a good communicator. So I wrote my paper, I took it to him, and it was just a sheet of red, all right? It just kind of, and then he would help me and say, well, all right, you got to look at your topic sentence and think about this. And so every single paper that semester, boom, I'd run to him. It's like, hey, could you help me with this? Could you read this? And it continued on. Then it was time for him to go. He got stationed somewhere else. He moved on, and now it was time for composition 2 and drama class and communication or speech. And I tell you, it was only when he left that I could start to hear his voice. Every single lesson, You kind of hear it when they're there and they're saying, hey, remember, you got to do this. Oh, yeah, I remember. And now all of a sudden you're on your own. And you start hearing that voice here and here. And there's a certain strength. And even though they've moved on, yet they still remain. And it's really Christ who says, I remain always with you, even to the end of time. Yes, through the sacraments. Yes, in the presence of the Eucharist. Yes, in the presence of the power of the Holy Spirit. Leading and guiding us. Who was your mentor? Who's somebody that was there for you continually, walking with you in your life? Who'd you lean on? And who propped you up and pushed you a little bit and stepped back as you began to stand on your own and walk tall? Let's give thanks for them, for those mentors. And let's also realize that Christ is with us, and that the whole purpose that we were given those individuals is so that we could walk down that path of greatness that He has for us, finding in our heart what He has placed to give.